All right, peeps, welcome to the Culture and People Cast. Today we have Rachel Keck. Rachel, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Rachel Keck. I am located in Kansas City, the Kansas side of Kansas City, and I nurture nurturers inside organizations. So many times that looks like helping leaders get present, get connected, and get clear. That's sort of the process that I find myself working through with people.
Present, connected, and clear. I love that. And it's needed now more than ever.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so you're in this nurturing of nurturers. Sorry, guys, battling a little bit of an illness here. So what is the best thing for you about influencing this people and culture space?
You know, that is, I think, freedom. The word freedom just keeps coming to mind, like the ability to influence people to live freer and freer. So that's probably one part. The other part is the butterfly effect, right? You have one little thing happen with someone where they experience some freedom, and that freedom radiates to all these different relationships in their lives. I think that's the exciting thing about being an influencer in this space.
Yeah, I love that butterfly effect. You and I were jamming before the recording here and talking about our ability to influence with inside organizations, whether internal or external, partners. I always look at it as planting seeds. I'm planting a seed. It's not up to me to water and nurture that always, right? That's up to the person,
Right.
the team, the leader. So I think that the butterfly effect nailed it.
Yeah, the seeds are so important. I mean, the seeds are really all we can do.
Yeah,
Right.
right. This is all that's in our control, is to be able to influence that space. And so with you working with leaders, I'm curious because I'm hearing from a lot of leaders that engaging their teams is a challenge. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Don't you want to give people a big hug a
I
little bit,
know. Wish you could.
Because I think what happens is it is hot. I mean, in this new environment, there are some barriers to connecting and engaging. And so then leaders get kind of flustered in that and start trying harder and harder. And, whatever their MO is, whether it's manipulation or forcing, I mean, we all have these MOs that are not so great. I think we talked about before, like saving people and like a little codependence is like, that's where I go. And so that's not healthy and doesn't engage people either. So I think leaders being really mindful of like, okay, it's back to get present.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. What is engaging you right now? And how might that be a connection point for engaging your people? Instead of like the hustle, and it just gets too hustly, and then people are like, I mean, there is so much coming at people right now.
Yeah.
That I think even breathing is a great way to connect.
Good, right?
Like, let's just breathe together.
Yeah, it's like, we're in a time of change. So activity. And it's not about the quantity. It's about that quality. I love that call to slow down, get present, and have those quality connections, right? I always talk about tethering, like a hot air balloon, tether it to the basket is the organization. So work on those like really strong tethers.
Yeah, that's something you said made me think about this whole idea of, we're more familiar these days with the idea of doing and being. Like as humans, let's not just be human doings, let's be human beings as well. But our tendency is to do, and then be and rest. And so if leaders can for themselves be being first, which is the get present, right? If I can focus on my being first and let my doing flow out of that, and if I can help my people do that, you're not going to talk about engagement won't be a thing.
Right.
Motivation won't be a thing,
Right.
I mean, innovation won't be a thing. It's just those are outcomes of living a different way.
Ding, ding, ding. I always tell people like culture's an outcome, engagement's an outcome, all those things
Yes.
are an outcome of your daily habits and behaviors. So just focus on keeping those really grounded, really connected, and you'll be good. So
Yeah.
for you, Rachel, what tactical advice do you have for these leaders who do genuinely want to move their culture forward or advance their people connections?
Mm-hmm. I think number one is breathe. So
Mm,
whatever that means for you, I mean, whatever practice you need to put in place
yeah.
to cultivate being, you know, whether it's breathing, whether it's golfing. One of the leaders I work with, he's now implemented, like he goes and golfs 1 day a week. And it's like an extraction taking him out of work to go golf 1 day a week. But that air, that sunshine,
Yes.
focusing on something else is breathing. Like that's breathing space. So in whatever way you can cultivate some breathing space for yourself, do that first.
Mm,
Second, make sure that you're creating a culture. So I define culture as how we do things, and make sure that is part of your culture. I mean, make sure your people, especially your fellow leaders, are modeling that authentically, like not just, okay, it's a checkbox, but you can feel if somebody's doing that, right? But I think that's first. And once you breathe, the rest will come.
yeah.
You, that's really, it's just one step. Find
Yeah.
breathing space.
Yeah. I get the sense from you, Rachel, that when you were thinking about breathing, it's about getting grounded, as you talked about before, but that grounding then helps center you into your natural state, your natural strengths that are then able to, when you lead with those natural strengths authentically, you're going to build better connections. You don't have to
Yes.
lead an extremely strategic person by being strategic yourself. That's their job, right? What do
Right.
they need from you? That time, resources, support.
Yes. It, you know, what that breathing space does is give you major perspective.
Mm.
So that second piece of getting connected is really in integrity, like internal integrity, but it also gives you a different, you start seeing things differently. You see connections that maybe you didn't see before because you're no longer in your sympathetic nervous system. You know, you've opened up, there's space to see some different things. And yeah, and you know, I think authenticity is such a big word right now, such a buzzword. And it's like, you know, but I am being authentic. And you know, you kind of hit the nail on the head that when you can really be grounded in yourself, in your own embodiment, that is authenticity, and people will respond to that. They
Yes.
just, it's the way it works. Like it's
Right.
just the way it works.
Right. I started our call even telling you that I had a rough night. I got sick last night. It's like, I need to tell you that because I feel like my energy is going to show up a little differently.
Yeah.
And so by merely acknowledging these things. And so I think leaders sometimes think authenticity, you have to come from this place of constant Pollyanna positivity, when sometimes it can be just like, I'm having a rough time, I'm having a rough day, or this situation is rough for all of us, and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and even saying, I think so much now is about communication and what do you communicate, what do you not communicate, and some fear around transparent communication. And even being honest about that. Like when you can drop into your own body, when you can be present, the clarity around communication comes so much easier. And it's just can be that I'm struggling with what to communicate and what not to communicate. So I need some grace right now while I try to figure that out. Please know, yes, there are things I'm not telling you. There are things that I want to tell you. And here's what I can tell you comfortably right now. But just, you know, it does create, it's the being first and doing second. It just works better.
Yes. And with COVID and these Zoom meetings and dogs and kids running,
Oh my gosh. No.
we've gotten a more human perspective to each other. So let's really leverage that. Oh, I think that advice is so great, Rachel.
I love
So we have just about 10, 20 seconds. Is there anybody that you'd shout out as a great leader who maybe would want to be a guest on the show?
Oh my gosh. You know who my hero and who I look up to is Claude Silver. You know, Claude, have you? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, she's fantastic. But we have some
Yeah.
wonderful local leaders here. George Brooks with Crema Lab has built an amazing organization. Andrew Dallas with Pro Athlete is a local leader that is just phenomenal when it comes to people and culture. Those are two right off the bat that I'm thinking of. Michelle Komisek with Waddell and Reed is a people and culture leader here in Kansas City that just does an amazing job with her people.
Oh, so great, Rachel. So
there you
thank
go.
you so much for being a guest and for all you do for people and culture.
Thanks.